got it.
Thank you for tuning in to Women Winning Wednesday show. And today we have a special show. But today, Women Winning Wednesday is about women empowerment. It is about uplifting and empowering women from all walks of life. We bring women on to talk about their hardships and things that they have been through in life in hopes that it be a blueprint for someone else who is stagnant and maybe going through something in their life and to help them on their road to success. So each woman comes on here and they tell their hardships and their journey, and they talk about their legacy on what led them to success. And success could be finding your inner peace. Success could be going back to school. Success could be becoming a better woman in some way, shape, or form, a better wife in some shape or form. So we ask women to come on and talk about their journey to success. And they talk about their hardships. And we appreciate each and every woman for coming on to Savon Speaks, Women Winning Wednesday show, and being transparent with us and sharing their story. Today we are going to talk about generational curses. It is something that happens within families, and sometimes we don't know where they stem from, and we have to go back to our roots, our ancestors, and things that happened before our time to figure out why are we a certain way. And so today we have a guest speaker who's going to be coming on today. She's a powerful, powerful, powerful speaker. So guys, get ready to be emotional. I hope you guys have some tissue ready for you. And we're going to invite Miss Coco Simpson to the show. Thank you, Miss Coco.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
No, I'm trying to make sure I got my tissue.
I know, I forgot mine. So today we're sitting with Miss Coco Simpson, who's going to be talking about her journey to success. She has a powerful story. So she had invited me to come to a speaking engagement that she had. And when I tell you I was blown away, I was sitting on the other end of the phone. You know it's virtual because of COVID, but I was sitting on the other end of the phone just boohoo crying. And her story is just powerful, and I could relate to it as a young adult and listening to her story. So, Miss Coco.
Yes, Miss Savon.
Can you take us on the journey of, your past and things that you have went through? I know you're coming up on Monday of being 24 years clean and doing your thing. And I know that has to be a great feeling for you.
It is. It's an awesome feeling.
What I want is for you to take the audience into your world and what happened to you or the things you've been through along your journey to get where you are today at a level of peace, a woman of faith, and walking with God.
Okay. We're going to get to a place where we'll discuss generational curses, and this story is going to seem to go a bit out of order. So I want to talk about on Monday, January 25th, in 1997, I made a decision that the lifestyle that I had been living up until that point, I needed to do something different. So on January 25th, 97, I made the decision to go into recovery, and I'm a recovered addict. And on Monday, I will have 24 years clean. There's a separate journey that started there. But as I got clean, I started finding out a lot of things about who it is that I was and growing and changing the areas. And then I didn't even realize, we have a saying, if drugs is the answer, what was the question?
Right.
And trying to research what that question was led me to looking at generational curses. Where did it start? Where did the idea that using drugs would be a solution for anything, where did that come from? So I'm definitely looking forward to celebrating my anniversary on Monday. But a part of what happened for me was that I grew up in a household where my parents, like many parents back in those days, they used to have card parties, and we had the house where everybody kind of hung out at, right? And they would pass out and come to, and that little gap in between it, you find these little cups that were sitting around, And anyone that didn't have a cigarette butt in it was fair game. When I would drink out of these little cups, I would feel better. I would be really happy. I would, be a little, it's kind of like spinning in a circle. I was about 2 or 3. And the reason I know that I was about 2 or 3 is because we moved out of this house and we moved into another house. And it was there that I celebrated my 4th birthday. So when I was about 3 years old, me and my brother set the house on fire accidentally. Back in those days when it wasn't warm enough in the house, you would turn the stove on. So my mother had all the eyes on the stove on and had the oven door open. And my brother and I were like lighting paper and blowing it out. It was easy enough at first. Grabbed a big one, blew it out, it didn't go out. We'll put that in the garbage before we get caught. And needless to say, we burnt the house down and had to move. But prior to that, like just being in the environment that we had the house where everybody came, everybody partied, everybody seemed to be so happy. And there wasn't a lot of arguments. There wasn't a lot of, some of the stuff that I began to see later on in my active addiction. But it was more so people enjoying themselves. So based on that kind of upbringing, I kind of grew up thinking when you get grown, you have parties, you drink a lot, you hang out with your friends, and that's fun. I know that today I look at it's a certain age bracket that had a set of children that always needed a babysitter. Mom, could you watch my kid? Auntie, could you watch the kids while they went to the clubs and stuff? Well, we didn't do that. When we were coming up raising our kids, whose house are we going to? We went to each other's house. We played cards, we brought bottles, and we hung with each other. And the kids just were introduced to an environment because, 1, at that time, I don't think we knew better, but 2, more important, it was really about family over everything. Whose house are we going to all gather together in and spend time with each other? Some of the things that we showed our children in that environment was the same things that were shown to us. You get together with family, you get a whole bunch of bottles, and everybody just chill together and have fun. The adults are here, the kids are there, and every now and then the kids would trickle into our space and they would get their hands on some things that were ours and we would be too loaded to recognize that it was gone. Even at that time, it was like kids would have, oh, Mom, my stomach hurt. Drink some of this beer. You probably got worms. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. That was what our parents said to us. So we never researched it. We just followed what it is that we were taught. I remember being like a little bit angry with my mother and feeling like she didn't do the best job of parenting me that she could have.
At what age did you feel like that?
All my life. Okay. All my life. At about age 8, I started smoking cigarettes. I got caught before I turned 9, and I got a whooping. She hit me in my hand with like this handle with a spoon, and she was like, you shouldn't be smoking cigarettes. You're too young to smoke cigarettes. Grown folks smoke cigarettes. You can't afford to buy cigarettes. You don't need to be smoking. Well, cigarettes were like 65 cents back then. So I started going to the store for neighbors. They'd give me a quarter here, a quarter there. Right. And I get up enough money to buy my own cigarettes. Okay, so I must be grown because I can afford my own cigarettes. Right. And I started smoking. That was the beginning of the end because at that point, being mindful of my parents' teaching, kind of being, listening, paying attention, following the rules, all of that stuff I remember that was the point where things started going to the wayside. My father ended up in prison, and my mother, she had a softer touch. She would say what she was going to do. She never really actually got around to doing it. And once I realized that it was just an empty threat, it was like, I'm going to do what I want to do. Yeah. Making the decisions to do what I wanted to do, somewhere in between there, I forgot that I was doing that. So when my life started plummeting, when I say plummeting, I blamed her. You weren't there. You didn't parent me. You weren't, you didn't care enough about me to keep me from the streets. But had I listened to my mother, it's a whole bunch of things I would have never got involved in. Because although she did some things, that's not what she told me to do. And I grew up in you do what I say do, not what I do.
But
you know what I'm saying?
What they did and not what they said.
Right.
So that's what a lot of kids mess up at too. They do what they see and not what they are being told.
Well, it's not that they mess up. More people are octave learners than people who are audible
Yeah,
learners.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can tell a bunch of people unless they don't have sight, unless they have no sight. Most people learn from all five senses. And so the greatest sense is the sense that brings you joy, which is usually going to be by your smell, by your touch, by your taste. It's not going to be by what you hear. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times parents will tell you things, but then my octave looks and sees, well, why y'all always laughing if I ain't supposed to do this?
Right.
And it smells really good because it seems like every time I smell that, I associate that with joy. You know, and every time I taste that, I know that after this taste comes this kind of feeling, right? So you can't just tell me this and expect for my other four senses to shut off because I heard what you said, you know? And so as a parent, I didn't recognize that. I didn't recognize that the whole entire course of my being was teaching my children.
So how old were you when you started using? I know you said you were 8 when you started smoking.
Well, I'm under the belief that a drug is a drug is a drug. And any chemical that you ingest that changes your mental state, it's a drug. And I started using that 8. I started drinking around 2 or 3, you know what I'm saying? Consciously knowing what it is that I was doing. I'm going to say that I'll claim around 11 or 12 is when I started buying the real big bags of marijuana. I wasn't buying them. My sister would go out of town with her boyfriend and they would come back with pounds of them and give us big bags. Now, I didn't even like marijuana, but I got a lot of it. It was free. And then I had a lot of friends because I had it, so I would get it, you know? And then I would pretend to smoke it just so you'd hang with me. So I've got all the weed, so I had all the friends. I didn't even like half of those people. But I didn't like being alone. So I'm going to get the weed, I'm going to have the friends, and I'm going to do the things that they enjoy.
Right.
Not because I so much enjoy, but I just enjoy not being alone.
Right.
I had spent a great deal of time. I come from a small family. I had a father, mother, sister, brother, and then me. I was the youngest. My brother and sister were really close. My father spent a great deal of time in the penitentiary. And when my father was around, his idea of supporting his family was... like you didn't hurt us when my father was around. You didn't even say things out of line when my father was around because my father was very violent to anybody who he thought was causing this little nucleus that he claimed any kind of harm. His response was always violent. As a result of that response, that was my response. I didn't have, my sister kind of was the one that cleaned the house and cooked the food because my mother was kind of absent in that area. My brother was the kind of one that just like, he was in the Boy Scouts and he was going to go to, you know, he wasn't in the streets at all. He played video games and yeah, I'm not doing none of that. Me, I went all the way left, as far left as I could go. I just took the ball and ran with it. So all of the things, I guess the most negative things, at that time I didn't recognize that's what they were. They just seemed like the most fun.
Right.
But those were the things that I took on as character traits. I protected my family. I mean, as young as I can remember, I was the one that if my father wasn't present, I physically defended my entire family. Still to this day, I can have conversations with my brother where he'll talk about this story where, you know, there was a time that there was a fight and some guys were trying to attack him and I ran in the middle and just started hitting the guys and like he backed up like, you know, but he says it like, you know, I should have been defending you, you should have been defending me. But what he doesn't understand is like people are different at the core of their being, they're different. And I have been a protector all my life. Right. Like I had 25 years where I had a nice nightclub security company. I was bouncing all around Rochester. I had city school district. I was an SSO for about 18 years. Like I'm a protector at the core of my soul. It's who I am. So those things don't make me, you know, my brother, he kind of gives me a lot of kudos about it. But what he doesn't realize is like, if you look back, if you take a page from the Willie Lynch letter, there's something that's shifted in the dichotomy of how it is that Black women take care of their family. Because they structured it in such a way where the Black man would cower and the woman would protect him and aid him in cowering, because if he showed himself as strong, if he showed any level of strength, he would either be removed or killed. You know, if he's strong enough to do the work, we'll sell him to another plantation that'll take him on and give us some money. Or if he's weak or he does something that nobody wants him and then the family gets to keep him. You know, there's a whole bunch of things that happen in the mentality of our people that shifted what it is that we believe about how the structure of a family should go. So I was never excited about being the one. I just was the one. You know, I didn't think about it. I didn't, you know what, I'm going to be the protector of family. It just is what happened in my soul, and it's what I became. But as a result of that, like, I never wore beautiful boots like yours, and I didn't do my hair, and, you know, it had a couple of braids going back. And I have really long, healthy hair, but like, you'll never know because it needed to be fight ready, you know. As a result of that, I didn't have relationships in school, and the boyfriend, because they're like, she might beat me up. You know what I'm saying? And then I grew up just like feeling less than a woman, like not being able to relate. You know, my mother was very beautiful. My mother was Sioux Indian. She had this long, thick black hair, this fair skin, you know, and all these beautiful teeth. And she just like walked with this like straight back and, you know, had these heels on every day and this blazer. And like, look, I need some flat shoes or some sneakers, some stumping boots. Like, I don't know what might pop off. I don't got time to wear that. You know, I don't have time to do that. And now that I'm an adult, it's like finding my way to the things that make me feel good about me. Still trying to decide, you know, at 53, what a woman looks like to me. Excuse me, because I can even ill afford to look at what society views as a woman because they tell a lot of lies.
Right.
You know, but I need to see what it is about me that makes me feel good about my womanhood. Try down like all of these different outfits to wear today. You know, I'm just gonna be on the internet forever. You should wear something really nice. And you know, oh, you should probably go out and buy something. Then I remember that, like, I don't buy into the materialism thing that society tells you, like, you have to buy something. Now, I'm at this podcast. I buy something new. I wear it. I look really cute. I put it in the closet, and that's where it hangs for forever. Now, I'll be digging in there finding something that I love, you know. This shirt just makes me happy.
Right.
You know, I feel good when I got it on. I probably paid $7 for it from Rainbow about 5-6 years ago, but it makes me happy. And so my life today is about where does the joy in my spirit come from? My relationship with God has been showing me so much more about who it is that I am than I ever thought possible. You know, as I begin to look back on where some of these choices came from, how some of these decisions were made, what are some of the reasons that I suffer with these bouts of low self-esteem where I don't feel good enough or I feel inadequate and I don't measure up. And then I look around at some of the people around me and the things that they do to feel like or look like or seem as though they measure up, I'm not willing to do. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not willing to spend money I don't have on things I don't need to impress people that I don't even know or like. I don't have the willingness to do that. I need to be able to look in the mirror. If I have absolutely nothing, I need to be able to look in the mirror and be all right with who I see looking back at me. That took a lot of work. Right. That took a lot of work.
So what is your legacy, part of your legacy? I know we talked about, like today, when we were on the phone and we talked and you brought up your experience being addicted to drugs, some of the things that you went through and experienced along the way. You mentioned being shot. Mm-hmm. Now, would you take us into that?
Okay. Again, I told you I struggle with that whole, you know, I'm not beautiful. And not that prostitutes are ugly or beautiful, but in my mind, I just felt like I didn't carry myself like a woman that could be successful as a prostitute. I just didn't believe that I did. So in my active addiction, how I got money is like if I would be walking and a guy would pull up and they would be like, yo, you know, you working? Like, sure. They get in the car, where you want to go? Wherever you want to go. And of course, they take you to some seedy little cut in the back somewhere. And then they'd be like, well, how much? Well, how much you got? Oh, well, we could start with 10. Well, we could start with that. But how about we end with all of it, you know? And that kind of behavior, like, I felt safer and I felt like justified that, like, if you wouldn't have picked me up, we would never be in this situation. You created this, you know? And I never was afraid. And I think a part of me just wanted to die. And I didn't see a way out of that kind of lifestyle. And I lived that kind of lifestyle for so long. And I was like physically abusive. I fought like all the time. My son, he didn't have to fight. If it seemed like you might be making my son slightly uncomfortable, I would intervene and I would deal with that. And I remember one day my son coming home to me and saying, Mommy, can you please stop fighting people because nobody will be my friend? And I was just like, you don't need no friends. I'm your friend, you know?
No.
And he did, we had this conversation this morning that he had interviewed for The Real World. And and hopefully my cry is gone from this morning, but he had to do this video to send to them about his life. And so one of my friends that's a videographer, he kind of followed him around for a week, and, you know, he was putting the video together and we worked together. So his office was like right adjacent to mine. And he was like, oh, I'm putting this little video together for your son. You want to come take a look at it? I was like, oh, yeah, look, he said, it's just a raw cut, but, you know, you can look at some of the things I'm putting together. Yeah, we went to the bowling alley, and, you know, he's showing here how he's cutting hair, and, oh, he's showing this and that. And then he said, then he went to some of the places where he lived, and he pulled up on the street. It was just like a video of my son looking at the street side of the street, and I lost it. I was like, why is he there? And my son's story was that. That was his sandlot. That was where he had most of his friends. That was the happiest point of his life. That was the life where he felt like he was the most free. But that was a part of my life where I had gotten shot in that house. And I thought that he would forget the house and everything that happened in it. And as I listened, you know, I kind of pulled myself back together enough to watch some of the video, and he was sharing in the video how he heard a noise, and he got up, and he realized that there was a man in his house with a gun, and he was at the top of the stairs, and the man pointed the gun at him, and he grabbed his sister and went ahead. And, you know, up until this point, now this is probably 20 years between this incident and me seeing this video. But I spent 20 years believing that I had gotten away, and he never even knew I got shot. He never even knew what happened. He never knew what that noise was. And it's because he never said anything, and I never brought it up. And so, you know, I heard Malcolm X's daughter say years ago on like the Oprah show, or maybe Donahue or something, she said, never underestimate the recollection of a child. And she talked about being 2 years old and seeing them kill her father. And that always stuck with me. So I kind of tried to hide the things that I did from my son, but my son always knew. When we talk generational curses, I talk about like my parents not knowing any better, raising me in such a way that I transferred that behavior onto my children, just simply by not knowing any better. And I can tell you that there was a time where I was dealing drugs, and they've since torn it down, but I was at the downtown Motor Lodge, and I had my son there with me, and I had been up for a couple of weeks at this point, and I was bagging up some drugs, and I was tired, and he was about 8 years old, and I sat him down, like, and he was really good at math. He's always been really, really smart, right? So I'm telling him, okay, this weighs this much, and you gotta put this much cut on, and then you bag it up in these bags. And he said, Mom, I know how to do all that, but that's not my life, that's yours. And I remember saying to him, all right, we'll just leave it there, and I'll get it when I wake up, you know? But I'm so grateful that even at a very young age, my son knew that who it is that I was and the things that it is that I was doing with my life, he did not want to do. he did not want to do. And it was all that I had to give. I went into treatment. My son was about 11 years old. And when I went into treatment, I went into this supportive living, this like transitional housing, and he was like the oldest kid there. And so the executive director, her husband, took him on as like, he was like a mentor to him, right? And he loved my son so much, and my son was so smart, but he was a white guy, and he came to me and he said, I want your son. He's like, I'm trying to get him. He tried to get him in School of the Arts, and he tried to get him in all these schools, and couldn't get him in. And he said, listen, we got him in the Harley School. My church is gonna pay his My church is going to pay his full tuition. Just sign the papers and say he can go. And I said, I'm not signing nothing. No, he can't go. He going to Marshall. He can't go. And I told my son, I said, that white man tried to get you over to that white school so they could take you from me and you can't go. I was clean. I was only like less than a year clean, but I was clean. But I had not experienced anybody doing anything for me from age 8 until that point. I had done everything for myself and everything for my kids, and I didn't realize that there were people that would help you like that. I always thought it was a shoe gonna drop, and I didn't want, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You can't go. And my son, I guess he didn't even really know at that time what he would be missing out on. But then when he learned, he was really mad at me. But he ended up going to Marshall. And I said to him, and I was working at this nightclub downtown. It used to be called Venue. And the guys that owned it, 4 of the guys that owned it were alphas. And so I had 7 clubs. So I would get the money from all of the clubs. All of my guards would meet me there. I would be sitting there counting up the money and putting it in envelopes. And my son would be waiting. And they would be strolling. And they would be, he would be just like, okay. So I said to him, they hiring that Delta Sonic. He said, Ma, I'm an alpha man and we don't wear uniforms to work. He said, I don't know where I'm going to work. He said, but wherever it's going to be, I'm going to wear them gaiters I got in the closet and I'm going to wear me a nice shirt. I'm not wearing a uniform, right? And I had dropped out of school. I dropped out of school my senior year, and I got pregnant with my son about a year later. And I went and took the GED test. I passed the whole thing with a 247. You need a 225 to pass. But I missed 1 point on the math. They told me to come back and take the math. I said, man, I'll pass. I ain't going back. So I think I had forgot that I didn't pass. And so for years, I just assumed I had a GED. And then when my son graduated from high school and tried to get in college, and I was trying to get my daughter to go to college, and they were looking at me like, how you telling me to do something you didn't even do? So I went to try to get in college, and they was like, you don't even have a GED. And I was 38 years old when I went back to school. And I got my GED, and I got an associate's in criminal justice, and I got a second associate's in human services. And I graduated with highest honors. And I got A's and B's. I got like 2 B's the whole time through. And it was because at that point in my life, I just wanted something different. And the truth is, my son showed me I could get it. And while I was getting those 2 degrees, my son was trying to go to school, and he lost a lot of friends on his journey, because he had Crohn's disease, and he would get like sick in the middle of the semester, and they would make him pay for the whole semester before they let him back. And then he had got all the way to his finals week, and someone broke in his car and stole his book bag and his laptop and all of his last assignments. And just like a whole bunch of adversity was hitting him, and it took him a long time. But my son got his associate and his bachelor's and in school for his master's now, right? But nobody saw the backstory. But my son says to me, Mom, I learned perseverance from you. It doesn't matter what I went through. I saw the end goal. I saw what it was at the end that I wanted, and I did whatever it took to get it. Nobody had to see the backstory. Everybody just had to see when I walked across the stage, right? But little does he know, like watching him endure is what helped push me. Watching him sitting at home and watching how he struggled is what helped push me. Gave me the courage that, like, I want to give up, but I can't give up. I went and got a business license Coco's Creations, Natural Beauty Enhancement, and my son is a barber. My daughter is an esthetician. She's also, she waxes, and I got my nail tech license. I got my cosmetology license 35 years ago. And I still, like, I'm retired now. I'm disabled. I sit at home. I do nothing, but I still, like, do a little bit of hair because I enjoy it. You know, and I have some friends that still let me play in their hair, you know. So I just feel good that, like, no matter what it is that I went through in my life, I still persevere to try to have the things and show my kids the things that I could. Once I got clean, once I started learning that life was more than what it is that I had been taught all growing up, right? So being afforded the ability to live 2 lives in one lifetime has been such a phenomenal journey. And to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't trade any of it.
So how do you feel now as a mother and the things that's going on in today's society with our young African American men? And you have a son now, and how do you feel? How when he walks out of the house every day, like, do you worry about him? What are some things that go through your head as a mother now in today's generation?
I don't worry about my son because I have a God, right? And the God that I have, I trust him with everything, for everything, through everything. Like, I'm okay, and my baby okay. Whatever happens, right? But I'm going to tell you, if I had to say something that breaks my heart, the men today that are unable to raise their children or unable to fully control their position as a father in a relationship, that breaks my heart. And I say that because when I got pregnant with my son, his father said he didn't want no kids. And I was like, okay, you ain't got to have none. I'll take care of myself. I didn't know that as my son grew to be a man, one of the most consistent questions from him would be, Mom, where's my father? He's seen his father. He's had physical altercations with his father because his father has adapted the choice that, like, I don't mess with you. But as a result of that relationship, I watch my son and I watch a whole bunch of other men try to be the father that they never had to their children. And I watch mothers who grew up like me, feeling like they had to have the strength for their family, feeling like they had to protect their little black boys, shield their little black boys from being grown black men. Because they don't want the father to show them strength. They don't want the father to give them the hard lessons. They don't want the father, like, they don't even understand that they don't understand. But it's something that happens when a black man guides a small black man. I can't do it. My son is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. I love my son. I am so proud of who my son became. But make no mistake about it, it takes a village to raise a child. And but for the fact that I have very strong men in my circle, very strong men that became brothers to my son, very strong men that became godfathers to the pastor of my church is my son's godfather, and, like, has always been there to give him the hard lessons. Like, doesn't bite his tongue with him, doesn't say, you know, okay, that's okay, or pacify his behavior. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And I step out of that because I gave him all I could as a woman. And a lot of times, I would do my son no good to try to parent my son through this day and time, you know, because I'm a protector. So I would send him out in the world, you know, unequipped to take care of himself. So I'm grateful that the men that came into his life, one, showed him how to be a man, and two, gave him the voice to say to me, Mom, I'm a man and I'm fine. You know, if I have to say anything about, you know, where it is to just kind of bring this to an end, where my life has come to in the full circle that it has taken, I feel like I'm breaking generational curses. I feel like I am forever young. I feel like even when I'm gone from here. I have imparted lessons and things in people's lives that will make them remember my name. And not because I've done nothing super phenomenal, but a lesson, enough of a lesson to say, I remember when Miss Coco talked about such and such. You know what I'm saying? So it was my pleasure to be invited on your show. And I hope that I was able to talk about some things that was like on the topic and a little important.
You did amazing. So we definitely want to congratulate you for all that you have done, have accomplished, and for being 24 years clean, being a positive role model, giving your life to God. I know that it's not easy, but you are on this walk and you're doing great. And we want to congratulate you, the whole Harvest Center International. Definitely want to say congratulations to you and your 24 years.
You guys didn't have to do that. Oh my God.
Congratulations.
How beautiful is that? I'm going to beat the ball.
And we'll be right back after this. Thank you, guys.
I know that you got